Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
Well, you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
The Republican Party's racist.
The nation, Waldorf Nation. What's up, everybody? It's Wednesday. We got a great show. We're gonna have fun. We have drama. Lots and lots of drama between two terrible people. You know what I say? Let them fight. Let them fight. Well, I am actually gonna take a side. Oh, interesting. Interesting. So we're gonna have fun. We're going to do that story. We have other fun stories as well, including parents not too happy about a surprise visit to their school by a certain elected official. We're going to get into that story immediately. We also have an update on the Michigan Republican Party. One of my favorite topics. Since it affects me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. It is a lot of fun. The Michigan Republican Party is melting down as we speak. Hilarious, fun, including some quotes here. And of course, a video. Yes, we're going to bring back the fight video. Hilarious. We also are going to talk about Disney versus DeSantis. And we have a transphobe in Montana that basically admits that she would rather have dead children than trans children. So, again, they're telling you exactly how they feel, exactly their stance. Protect the children, not if they're trans. Because, of course. But we are going to have fun stories. So, why don't we start out with Lauren Boebert. Oh, interesting. Oh, and by the way, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Helps us out. Okay. Now, let's do it. Ooh. All right. Parents at a Colorado school district are furious over Lauren Boebert being invited to speak to children without their knowledge. Oh, wait, well, whatever happened to parents' rights? Last week, the Dolores School Board held a meeting that got pretty heated after parents complained about a visit by Representative Lauren Boebert. She was brought in to speak to students during a March assembly. Now, Boebert billed this event as nonpartisan. Oh, no, I'm just there to learn about or to teach children about what it's like to be an elected official. What does that actually look like? Unfortunately, as expected, that did not happen, and she ended up going into culture war topics. Yes, that's right. Big surprise that Lauren Boebert would go in and basically preach politics to children and culture war stuff. In fact, apparently she repeatedly told the children about one of the big issues facing America being moral decay. Moral decay. Oh, and also railed against COVID-19 pandemic measures meant to mitigate COVID-19. Of course. So, not really, telling, informing or instructing children about, what being elected actually looks like. No, she just went into full culture war mode, to which we are not at all surprised. Again, are we surprised? Are we surprised? No. Okay. So now, parents sounded off at this meeting. I'm going to give you some quotes here from some of them. One of them named Mary brought up a statement about what, that Boebert had made. During the assembly, a student had asked what helped shape the beliefs that influenced her political ideologies, which is, again, it's a good question. It's a fair question. She responded with, Jesus. Oh. Now, her response was, Jesus was the biggest influence in her life. So Mary was a little upset about this because she's like, hey, look, that means you're openly discussing Christianity on school campus with children. You're not supposed to do that because we have this whole thing about not preaching religion to children. So now there are ways that she could address this, saying like, well, my personal religious beliefs have had a huge impact on my life, but then also this and this and that. I mean, that would have been a way to handle it without specifically mentioning Christianity or okay, let me just, for those of you who are wondering what the hell the big deal is, let me just ask you this, ponder this a little bit. Say you bring in, I don't know, a certain Muslim representative, Ilhan Omar, to go into, and speak to students at school. And they ask her, okay, what is your, what has a big impact on your political ideology? And she says, Muhammad. And then starts going off in Arabic, and then telling people, that she prays 6 times towards Mecca. Would conservatives, would their heads explode? Of course they would. Yeah, of course. So that's sort of the problem here. Now, of course, Ilhan Omar wouldn't do anything like that. But Lauren Boebert would. And that's why it's a problem. All right. Again, putting religion where it does not belong. Okay, but that's some criticisms of some of the stuff that Boebert had said. But a lot of the criticism was also levied at the fact that the school board just didn't let the parents know that this was going to happen. And one of the speakers, identified as Leah, started by saying that she just wished that parents had been allowed to watch the assembly over Zoom. They were not allowed to attend in person. So she's like, at least I would have seen this myself and not had to hear about this from my children saying, hey, this Lauren Boebert came in and she started talking about Jesus and moral decay. She said, quote, it would have been so easy to do to broadcast it on Zoom. It probably would have turned down the heat. Maybe. Leah reportedly went on to say that she had sent 3 different emails to school authorities, but received no replies to this, and added that she had no confidence in the superintendent named Reese Blinko and his ability to lead the school district. Interesting. Now, there was another parent named Kyle who was also angry that the school allowed a polarizing figure such as Boebert in to speak in the first place. Quote, I don't know how it happened, but I'm here to make sure it never happens again. Apparently, the story on that is Boebert had reached out. She was going to be in the area and said, well, I would love to come and talk to your children. Sure. We know. We know. Now, there's another parent named Molly Cooper who had called out the school board for lying about inviting different guests when they claimed that they had. Now, what she did is that she had ended up filing a Freedom of Information Act request showing that Boebert was the only politician the school had invited to speak, although school officials supposedly stated that they had done otherwise. It was like, hey, you said you were inviting other, politicians, whatever, maybe Democrats or somebody from the opposition party. But that's a lie. You just invited Boebert. That seems pretty clear. Now, Cooper said that Boebert's presence had victimized students who are not white and who are LGBT, and put LGBT, non-binary, and trans students at risk. God bless. 100%. Now, look, here's the thing about this. I love the parents are standing up. I really do. Very clearly, Boebert did not come to talk about her duties as a legislator, but to preach about the culture wars to little children who are a captive audience. And I think that's the biggest part here. They could not leave. This was a school assembly. There was no opt-out form. The parents weren't even notified. Captive audience. So now look, I don't have any issues with politicians generally coming to speak at schools as long as there's some sort of way to opt out, and as long as the parents know who is coming to speak to the children. Now look, for example, if Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, if they were invited to speak at a school, but they didn't inform the parents, and the kids weren't given a chance to opt out, well, I could understand people not being happy about this. And what if they instead, took their time to go into weirdo culture war issues? They wouldn't. I couldn't imagine that. But what if they did? AOC started talking about Plan B and people getting abortions. Well, that wouldn't be appropriate for school. So, and it wouldn't be what they originally invited there to speak about, which is being a legislator. Okay? Now, look, let's get to the projection here. Okay? Let's get to the real issue. So Lauren Boebert and a lot of Republicans are claiming that the schools are indoctrinating children, right? Well, apparently that's what she wants to do. She's trying to indoctrinate students by doing weirdo pseudo sermons to children about moral decay. Cooper had also told the board, quote, "This is about holding you accountable for a very poor choice. I will not move forward. The school is absolutely wrong. There's clearly no leadership because the school did not stop this." Now, Blinco responded, saying, and Boebert's presentation just gave civic students with a unique opportunity to hear from their elected representative on important issues. No, it's culture war. It's culture war nonsense. Jesus and moral decay. That's not an important issue. Those are wedge issues. Come on, man. Look, parents have a right to be angry about this, about being left in the dark, okay? Regarding, the school. I mean, it does not take much to send out a flyer or an email or to send, something home with the students, assuming they don't lose it, because I certainly know that's happened before. And so the fact that this went unknown to the parents and that they're so worked up over this makes me believe that the school board already knew that this was going to be a result, that people were going to get up in arms if they were open about this in the first place. They knew what they were doing, and they knew that it was not going to be well received. Lauren Boebert is an incredibly polarizing figure, and lo and behold, they try to sweep it under the rug, and the very thing that they allegedly were attempting to avoid happened anyway. People found out, and they were pissed. I guess that's what happens when you, what is it? What is it the right, kept always saying about parents being involved in education? We want parents involved in education and education decisions. Yes, we want the parents to be involved. Well, what happened? Parents weren't involved here. What are you doing? Oh, I guess it must be okay as long as it's a Republican that's coming in to try to indoctrinate your children. I see the real issue. Okay. Anyway, let's go from that to the school intentionally kept it quiet. That's what I'm thinking. All right, let's move on to Michigan. Fun. The Michigan Republican Party continues to fall apart in real time. It's gotten so bad and hilarious that Republicans fear that they're on the brink of losing the state for the foreseeable future, to which I say, good. Yes! Good indeed. Now, according to a report in The Hill, the state party is facing a slew of negative headlines painting a picture of warring factions and dire financial straits. Last week, reports surfaced that an alleged fight broke out between allies of the party's new chair, Christina Caramo, and her former opponent for the position, Matt DePerno. On top of that, Caramo has faced criticism from her own, both inside and outside the GOP, for a number of remarks, including for comparing gun control restrictions to the treatment of Jewish people during the Holocaust. Jesus Christ. Wow. All right. There's more. She said insane things. Now, Caramo is an election denier because she denies her own, loss in her election. And also promoted insane conspiracy theories, QAnon, and believes that various pop singers are in league with Satan.
It's the devil, okay?
Now, that's not to say that DePerno is that much better. Remember, DePerno also endorsed by former President Donald Trump, and there's a reason. It's because he's an election denier as well. So, election denier versus insane election denier. By the way, DePerno also compared birth control pills to fentanyl. They're all crazy. They're all nuts. They're just nuts. No wonder the entire Republican Party in Michigan is falling apart. It's coming apart at the seams. Leadership. You have the leadership of these different factions here. You've got crazy and you've got crazier. And look, it's come to blows.
By the power vested in me. Is that what you said? By the power invested in me?
Let's talk about Macomb County and all.
You're all going to jail. You're all going to go down. All of you are going down. You're so by the power vested in me. By the power vested in me. By the power vested in me.
Are you an attorney?
By the power vested in me. You are no longer a delegate. Is that what you said? By the power vested in me. You're no longer a delegate.
Now we got a problem. Now we got a problem.
Oh, they've got quite a bit of a problem. Wow. Now, look, you may remember me showing you that video. That was Kalamazoo Republican Party Chair Kelly Sackett, a DePerno ally, versus Macomb County GOP Secretary Melissa Felis, a Caramo ally. They were getting ready to throw down. According to Bridge, Michigan, the two local party officials were clashing over an alleged move by Sackett to remove Caramo backers from the Kalamazoo Republican Party. That incident allegedly took place at a hotel bar the night before a Michigan GOP leadership summit, which ended up having the police called. Oops. Leadership summit. So much leadership. Look, it's beautiful to watch everything fall apart. Now, look, just the fact that they're turning in on themselves like this while Gretchen Whitmer is actually striking down zombie laws, like the ban, for example, on unwed cohabitation and the 1931 abortion ban. By the way, that unwed cohabitation ban is insane. And guess what? Half the Republican Party voted to keep it. So like, no, we want to continue to ban couples who are not married from living with each other. So, and look, the Democratic Party in Michigan has been doing a lot of things, striking down right to work laws. They've been doing great while the Republican Party has, well, been doing this, fighting each other. Okay. Now, let me go to a quote here. This is from a former Michigan Republican executive director, Jason Cabell-Rowe, saying, quote, "I think the rifts are deep, and I think it's going to become increasingly problematic." You don't say. You don't say. He adds, what they should do, or what they should do, and what they are doing are two different things. Obviously, you want to unite under a common banner, but right now, there's no faction within the party that's particularly interested in uniting. I think the state party, this is another former Republican congressman. I quoted him before, basically trashing DeSantis as an asshole. He had a more stark assessment of the party, saying, quote, "I think the state party is dead."
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Down goes the Michigan State Republican Party. Okay, so look, why am I celebrating this? That's not because I want one party rule or anything like that, or don't believe in democracy. No. It just, there needs to be consequences for a party that goes so far off the rails. And that's what happens. Like, you lay down with crazy, you're going to turn off the voters. And that's exactly what happened with the Michigan Republican Party. This is what's happening with a lot of the Republican Party. It's what happened in the midterms. And the voters are basically sick and tired of them. All right? Let me give you some polling to back that up. There's a poll from Data for Progress earlier this month that noted that the American people, and even some Republican voters, are tired of, for example, all the anti-LGBTQ bans that are working their way through state houses. Now, of the right-wing supporters who responded for the Data for Progress poll, 55% agreed with this statement. There's too much legislation. Politicians are playing political theater and using these particular bills as a wedge issue. Again, these are all the trans bans. More than half, 54% of Republicans agreed that transgender adults should be allowed to change their bodies however they want. Wonderful. Freedom, right? Now, there's a previous Data for Progress poll from 2022 that looked at the electorate altogether. They found that an overwhelming majority of U.S. voters, 88% of Democrats and 86% of Republicans, thought the United States government should not have a say in personal matters like a person's sexual preference or gender identity. So, for a party that seems to be focusing on all this, it's not reaping any sort of rewards. Even though, by the way, there's a negative in this poll. 62% of Republicans do believe that increased transgender visibility in society represents to them a threat to children. How? Seeing a trans person does not make you trans. Reading about trans people does not make you trans. They think that, I don't know, is that they're apparently 62% of Republicans think that you can become transgender through osmosis or something. I don't know. But it just reminds me of the weirdo panic. I think it was like back in the 90s or something like that, or 80s, that you could contract the gay from sitting on a toilet seat. What? No, insanity. It's really, really dumb. But that said, more polling. Another poll of Republican primary voters said that, and this is something also to be concerned about, said that fighting woke ideology in our schools and businesses is more important than protecting entitlement programs from cuts. This is a Wall Street Journal poll that just came out. So you do have a majority of Republicans, primary voters, the most extreme, the people that turn out the most, that are saying, no, let's push all these anti-trans, all this anti-so-called woke stuff. No, let's not even care about Medicare and Social Security. Pfft, screw that. So here you have the Republican Party being caught between, again, a big chunk of their voters that are like supporting insane culture war, nonsense, right? But then you also have other people, other voters, including some Republican voters that are like, no, I'm not interested in this at all. Why are you pushing this? This is obviously not a winning issue. See, the vast majority of the American people, the vast majority of the electorate, overall, not interested in having these fights. Among Americans who know a transgender person personally, 78% of them said that there's just too much focus on preventing them from living their lives, preventing trans people from living their lives. So, yeah. That said, I'm going to tell you why the Republican Party will continue to double and triple down on these culture war nonsense issues. Because they don't have anything else. I mean, you want me to go into detail further? Okay, I can do that. What is their platform? What's the Republican Party platform? Cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Privatize it, which is incredibly unpopular. Their other policies are give more money to the rich in the form of tax cuts. So more tax cuts for the rich and corporations, more corporate welfare, more subsidies to oil companies, more military spending. Oh, you thought they were anti-war? No, of course not. No, but by the way, both sides of the political spectrum are massively anti-war. They keep shoveling even more money to the Pentagon, and they'll never stop. So more military spending. And so, look, there are other policies, and again, this goes more to the wedge issues. They want to police anybody who has a womb, which is incredibly unpopular, and to force their version of Christianity on everyone else. Also, not very popular and very, very un-American. So, of course, they're not doing very well. Now, so in my view, the sooner the party completely implodes, the sooner I think a more sane opposition party could rise to take its place. It's happened in American politics before. And the reason I want that is so that we can actually have conversations about economic policy that would help the working class instead of constantly trying to argue that human beings are actually human beings, and that trans people deserve to be treated as human beings. That women, and should be treated as human beings. I don't want to be having those conversations. Because they're human beings. This should not be debatable. Civil rights are not debatable. But apparently now, Republicans think, no, totally debatable. So I don't want to have those culture war fights, but we're forced to do so because of how abhorrent the far right is and how they do want to dehumanize people. Look, I want to talk about economic issues because, well, leftist policies will help everyone, every single person. And I don't think they're talked about enough because these culture war issues do suck the oxygen out of the room. I want to talk about Medicare for all. I want to talk about housing for everyone. I want to talk about, fixing infrastructure and modernizing it, breaking up these big corporations, that have these monopolies, regional cable monopolies, energy monopolies that we have. I want to talk about things like, workers' rights, labor unions, worker co-ops, sustainable jobs, that pay not just living wages, but thriving wages. I want to talk about fair trade. I want to talk about, making sure that we don't exploit people, vulnerable people overseas or people here, for cheap goods that will just increase corporate profits. We're not talking about all of those different issues. Instead, we're not. And so I'm hoping that we can actually get to those issues, but it won't happen until the current Republican Party either goes the way of the dodo and takes their culture wars and neo-fascism with them, or they change. And, well, I don't really see them changing, so I guess we're stuck with watching them implode. So, there you go. All right. Let's move on to drama. Oh, we got the drama now. Yes, that's right. Steven Crowder versus Candace Owens in The Worst People in the World Are Fighting. You're going to love it. Okay. Grab the popcorn because two of the most despicable right-wingers are tearing each other apart. And it's absolutely delish.
So if you're familiar with the idea of extortion, then you know the feeling well. Now, some of these threats were so thinly veiled that I'm frankly surprised you didn't all guess immediately.
Steven has a lot going on. I guess is the best way to say it. He has a lot going on, and that should be clear because people don't do stuff like this if there's not a lot going on in their lives. I would like to implore my audience and everybody that isn't paying attention to this situation not to condemn him, but to pray for him.
Pray for him. Interesting. Oh yeah, I mean, Steven's got a lot that's going on, you know? Yeah, he's got a lot. Now, anybody who knows right-wing Christians, and I do, you probably know that telling somebody that that you've openly disagreed with in the past, by the way, because this is an ongoing feud for some time. You tell them, we're going to pray for you. I'm going to get my audience to pray for you. You know what that is? That's the Christian equivalent of an open-handed slap to the face. That's what that is. You know it. We all know it. That's what that is. Now, Crowder, in his video, put out a pretty lengthy video, went after so-called self-styled Christians who he accused of hinting at his personal issues for personal gain or monetary gain, for clicks, for likes, things like that, and said that I'll be handling this through proper legal avenues and channels available as a matter of record in which I have more than full confidence. So, drama. So wait, you might be wondering what the hell started this? Well, I've talked about this before. It was Steven Crowder basically taking a $50 million offer from the Daily Wire and shoving it in their face. $50 million. And you say no. And it's not just saying no, but then taking this entire thing public and then accusing the Daily Wire of being big con. What a weird thing to do for someone that offers you $50 million. And by the way, that's just I forget what they call it, but it wasn't even a contract. It was a starting point for them to negotiate a contract. Wow. Okay. So now Candace Owens, of course, works for the Daily Wire. And apparently she, had promised, I got some tea. I got some things that I'm going to, that I could say about Steven publicly, but I choose not to. Now, that's funny because it wasn't Candace Owens that went public with Steven Crowder's divorce. So that's the other thing, right? So Steven Crowder is now saying, yes, my wife and I are going through a divorce and it's getting pretty nasty. So what happened? Who spilled this tea? Well, it was self-styled comedian Owen Benjamin. Here's what he said. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the wrong image. I don't know what I was doing. But basically, he had showed divorce filings. Wow. Okay. But Crowder instead went on to claim that it was Candace Owens that was threatening him, threatening his children. What is going on here? Now, look, for me, obviously, and I think pretty much all lefties are going to agree with this, children are off limits. Don't ever attack children. Candace Owens did not attack children. And I despise Candace Owens. I think that she's a terrible person. She's a grifter. But in this case, did she go after Crowder's children? Did she even mention him? No, not at all. Not at all. And by the way, again, if anyone's going after Crowder's children or Candace Owens' children, well, I'll be the first to step up and defend the children. All right. That said, I have more yummy infighting because Candace Owens took the video from Crowder and hit back with one of her own titled, "Steven Crowder accused me of extortion." Here's some of that yummy drama.
Let's talk about Steven Crowder. A lot of you guys have probably seen his live stream this morning where he brings me up. So we're going to have to respond to that, obviously, because he makes some pretty heavy implications and insinuations in his video that are so patently false that it's shocking to me that a man with his following would be stupid enough to put this onto a platform. Okay, so in the open, you get it. Steven Crowder is a victim. Once again, he's always a martyr for his belief. He's always a victim. And this time, it's the proverbial boot on the neck. He's literally George Floyd. So the idea here is you need to feel really bad for Steven Crowder right away because he's got a boot on his neck. First and foremost, if you're a person that watches his show, how do you not see that he is so obviously acting and that he is a very bad actor? Do you feel bad for him when he says that? When he says, if you're familiar with the idea of extortion, well, if you are familiar with the idea of extortion, you should realize that that video that he just showed of me wasn't that. His insinuation that I knew about his divorce before he decided to attack the Daily Wire is a pointed lie.
God, this is so good. Look, right out of the gate, she goes nuclear and she says terrible things. So that's how you know it's fun. All right. Now, she also had talked about on election night getting a weird flirty message from Steven Crowder telling her how good she looked. Interesting. Also super weird. But she then goes on to, I don't know if this is going to make her look good at all because nobody looks good here. But she's going to tell us how she really found out about Steven Crowder's divorce.
I logged on to Instagram and I found Hillary Crowder's Instagram account and I looked to see, and it turned out that she didn't follow Steven Crowder and that Steven Crowder didn't follow her. He didn't follow anybody in her family and she wasn't following anybody in his family. That was my aha moment. Clearly, there was some sort of a separation. Now, this might sound like crazy CIA stuff, woman stuff. It's exactly what happened. I then spoke to Jeremy at the Daily Wire and I said, do you think that him and his wife were potentially separated? And he said, no. Obviously, it's his friend. He would have known whether or not they were separated, except he didn't. He actually had no idea if they were separated either. And finally, we said, okay, this is a broken man. This is what I was thinking. This is a broken man who is on some sort of a spiral. It is likely his divorce that led to this moment. He's acting erratic. He's acting panicked. And this at least gives us some sort of an excuse for why he behaved this way. That's it. That's the big, scary story.
So I don't know what's funny about this. More funny, okay? The fact that they're fighting like this and it's gotten super nasty, or the fact that she admits that she did a weird journalism on Instagram and started looking them up. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to say that's not weird to, creep on people on the internet, on Instagram. Okay. But then again, the entire situation here is just weird. It's just that. It's weird. But again, I'm kind of gonna go with Candace Owens on this one. Because look, as weird as this is, there's no extortion going on here. I don't know where the hell he's getting this from. Claiming that she's extorting him For what? No. So now Candace Owens, she says that she's contacted a defamation lawyer and is sending a cease and desist and demanding a complete retraction to the idea that she had threatened and extorted him. She also continued on Twitter saying this, quote, if you're going to use your children as human shields to block people from digging further into your divorce, please do so without inserting me into the narrative. To remind people, the video Stephen used in a show of me was a video of me responding to Stephen's first set of bizarre attacks against the Daily Wire. Stephen is not the victim. He never was the victim. He's just a bad person who continues to burn a lot of people. And actually, I do have some evidence of that as well. The best part, though, is when she invited Hillary Crowder onto her program to spill more tea. I don't know if that's going to happen, but if it does, So now, look, I mentioned that she's, look, she's spilling tea. There's tea everywhere. But let's go to Benjamin Owen, or I'm sorry, Owen Benjamin. I don't know why I got that confused. Here's what he said about Steven Crowder. He posted, when Steven Crowder asked me to perform with him in Michigan, I said, of course, because he was the team leader and we were going to own the left. Basically admitting that that's exactly the only thing that they like to do. We worked on a song making fun of transgenderism, because of course, right before the showtime, they put me in tight white pants and bedazzled cape, and he wore a Speedo and leather chaps. Wow, this is weird. I'm not a natural Bravo. I'm a natural Bravo, not an alpha, despite appearing very dominant in most scenarios, so I followed the team leader's decision, even though it didn't make sense. How is dressing like a... I'm telling you, like the anti-LGBTQ stuff here is just disastrous, but how is this owning the left? I agreed, so I'm no victim, but I felt very uncomfortable saying no and didn't want to let down the team. Over the time, I realized more and more that we weren't owning anyone because, of course, and I just kept being asked to wear really degrading and sexualizing outfits. Big surprise. It's the main reason I now don't focus on whatsoever on religion or political association someone claims, only behavior. Because the only thing Steven Crowder is owning is a bunch of dresses and a broken home. God damn. Change my mind. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Crowder does have this really strange habit of always wanting to dress up and again, I'm in favor of people, dressing up in drag, whatever. It doesn't matter. To me, I call it freedom. But he does it to, or at least he claims to do it to try to own the left. But I really do just think he might have a thing for dressing up, and that's totally fine. Totally fine. I just wish he didn't have to use it to try to attack other people. You know what I'm saying? But there is more. Got a video here from featuring Dave Landau, who also had previously worked on Louder with Crowder. He decided to spill even more tea.
It became a little weird because a light was put in where it was his rant button. And it was basically a Dave Don't Talk button.
Wait, so there's literally a light bulb? What color was the light bulb?
There was 4 lights in a row.
There were 3 lights.
I'm serious. And when it was hit, I wasn't supposed to talk.
So it's like off camera, but in your eyesight.
Yes. And
would he be the one pressing the button, or was there a producer pressing the button?
He would press it.
So like Mr. Burns, like he had a button under his desk or the table, and when it's Steven's turn to talk and Dave needs to shut the F up, he presses this button.
Yes. Do you still want to be on Louder with Crowder? And I said, not at the moment. And he starts going off on me, and now there's a ton of people in my apartment who can hear it.
Wait, like he's literally raising his voice?
He's screaming at me.
Okay, so literally raising his voice, not just being stern, like to the point where it's audible.
It's audible, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, it's started stern, but then it got into telling me that he owns me, and
in those words.
Yes.
Oh my God. Steven Crowder literally has a shut up button for his co-hosts. Diva. 100% and it's because, of course, he has to have the last word. Has to. It can't let anybody else get in what they assume to be funny jokes, right? No. I mean, wow. Look, man, all these people are pretty terrible. Let's be honest, right? Crowder just happens to be probably the most terrible. I mean, just on how petty he is alone. I mean, come on. No wonder, I'm going to say it, no wonder his marriage fell apart. I don't know the reasons. I'm speculating, okay? But come on. And by the way, on that, Crowder is starting his incel arc. He is railing against women being able to divorce men without their permission. On his show, when he basically admitted that, yes, he's going through a divorce, he said repeatedly, "This was not my choice. My then wife decided that she didn't want to be married anymore, and in the state of Texas, that is completely permitted. She simply wanted out, and the law says that's how it works." So what, you're implying that she shouldn't? Now, you might think, come on, Jeff, that's a bit of a stretch, right? He's not actually going out and saying that women shouldn't be allowed to get a divorce. Oh, no, actually, yes. That's exactly what he went out and said. But I'm going to give you a quote here from last summer. This was an August show in 2022 where he said this, quote, "Oh, it's no-fault divorce, which, by the way, means that in many of these states, if a woman cheats on you, she leaves, she takes half. So it's not no fault, it's the fault of the man," he said, adding, "There needs to be changes to marital laws, and I'm not even talking about same-sex marriage. I'm talking about divorce laws, talking about alimony laws, talking about child support laws. We need to reform divorce laws in this country." Look, those are his statements, and it was kind of weird. Well, now we know maybe where those statements came from. And we know why he's attacking no-fault divorce, attacking divorce laws, and just acting basically the way that he is. I guess at least now it makes sense. Wow. Oh, and by the way, why he's also been attacking Candace Owens for, again, Candace Owens is a woman, and not going after some of the people that had also been spilling tea. It's very interesting. Very interesting, the choice of targets. All right. Let's move on. Let's go to Montana. During a debate over the banning of gender-affirming care in Montana, a Republican speaking on the floor of the House admitted, well, that she'd basically be a terrible parent.
Without surgery, the risk of suicide goes way up. Well, I am one of those parents who lived with a daughter who was suicidal for 3 years. Someone once asked me, wouldn't I just do anything to help save her? And I really had to think. And the answer was no.
No. So when it comes to, and by the way, she went on to take the side of banning gender affirming care, which has been shown to save children's lives. So that's pretty clear. And what she means that she would rather have dead children than trans children. This is your pro-life Republican Party. Now, when you call them out for precisely what they're saying, again, being in favor of dead trans children, you end up getting the wrath of Republican lawmakers. And there is a openly transgender woman in Montana, a legislator, who is on the receiving end of that wrath. Zoe Zephyr. Now, yesterday, on Tuesday, she reported that she received a letter informing her that the Republicans plan to vote to censure or expel her from office, and that vote would occur on Wednesday. Quote, I've been informed that during tomorrow's floor session, there will be a motion to either censure or expel me. I've also been told I'll get a chance to speak. I will do as I've always done, rise on behalf of my constituents in defense of my community and for democracy itself. By the way, I really do need to change my lower third here. She was, now Zoe Zephyr was silenced after telling Republicans that they should be ashamed for endorsing legislation that could force a transgender minor to go through puberty without receiving gender-affirming health care, medical care. That is the circumstance that Zephyr, a trans woman, called tantamount to torture. Well, yes. Now, the statements that apparently Republicans took umbrage with is when she said, quote, that they should be ashamed for endorsing legislation. Oh, I just read that. The only thing that I will say is if you vote yes on this bill and yes on these amendments, I hope the next time there's an invocation when you bow your heads in prayer, you will see the blood on your hands. Well, apparently, as I just showed you, they don't care. They don't care about the blood on their hands. They don't care about the lives of transgender children. They would rather have dead children than trans children. Do you get it? Do you understand now? Do you understand that transgender people are being targeted for eradication? I mean, they come out and say it. They want to eliminate trans people. That's it. They don't give a damn about protecting children. They want these children dead. They want trans adults dead. They do not want them to exist. They're admitting it openly. All over social media, by the way. All over Twitter. And what's Elon Musk doing about it? Nothing. Nothing. You know why? Because Elon Musk agrees with them. They all do. Funny enough, it's probably because he joins the ranks of the divorced. And his wife left him for a trans woman, Chelsea Manning. So, and look, you see this a lot, actually. Graham Lineman, sorry. Another, weirdo transphobe on Twitter. Divorced. Because he hates trans people. I mean, Steven Crowder, divorced. Going through a divorce. Massively transphobic. It's almost as if there's a trend. The more transphobic you are, the more divorced you are. Weird. But look, these dudes would rather target innocent transgender people than go to therapy. Now, as for the woman in the video that I showed you, look, I feel horrible for her daughter. I feel horrible if she has any other children. You know why? Because a good parent would do whatever it takes to ensure that their children are happy, healthy, and thriving. And that's what is so just horrible about some of these anti-trans bills that will literally criminalize parents for doing the right thing and supporting their children who are transgender and are getting gender-affirming care or are wanting to get gender-affirming care. You want to criminalize these people, throw people in prison for being good parents and supportive of their children. And that just shows you, though, how some of these right-wing parents are. That there are some parents out there that just want to control their children as if they're not even human beings, as if they're just possessions, forcing their children to be what they want and not allowing their children to be themselves, to be who they are, to live their own truth. You see that, unfortunately, with a lot of homophobic, transphobic parents, conservative parents, control freaks, that kind of thing. But it's disgusting. But the overall lesson here is when people show you exactly who they are, as this lady did, maybe you should believe them. Maybe you should take the threat to transgender people seriously. So, okay. Let's go to some good news. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is now the recipient of a lawsuit. That's right. Reuters reports that Disney has filed a lawsuit on Wednesday against Ron DeSantis immediately after the board appointed by the governor voted to nullify two key agreements that gave Disney control over its massive 25,000-acre resort complex. The lawsuit accuses DeSantis, the board, and other state officials of engaging in a targeted campaign of government retaliation. They said the company is left with no choice but to file this lawsuit to protect its cast members, guests, and local development partners from a relentless campaign to weaponize government power against Disney in retaliation for expressing a political viewpoint unpopular with certain state officials. Now, the New York Times also added that the lawsuit claims DeSantis now threatens Disney's business operations, jeopardizes its economic future in the region, and violates constitutional rights. Damn. Oh, damn. Now, DeSantis' office put out this response saying, "We are unaware of any legal right that a company has to operate its own government or maintain special privileges not held by other businesses in the state. This lawsuit is yet another unfortunate example of their hope to undermine the will of the Florida voters and operate outside the bounds of the law." Bob Iger, Disney CEO, recently slammed DeSantis' moves against the company as anti-business and anti-Florida. But here's what this is about. Disney embarrassed DeSantis. They basically pulled one over on DeSantis by outmaneuvering the board and being able to retain most of its legal authority over the district. Because they're smarter than Republicans. So, look, this is obvious weaponization of government against a specific company is obvious. I mean, 100% retaliation. No Republican previous to this had given a damn about Disney's special privileges. Until, again, they have to express their opinion on a political matter of DeSantis's anti-LGBTQ bills. Look, it's not as if Disney is wonderful and the best company ever. No, a lot of these corporations engage in rainbow washing. Now, Disney had given a lot of money to Republican politicians, anti-gay politicians. And so, it's that thing. And in the past, they, of course, had made sure to not feature, gay characters or anything like that in some of their, older movies, etc. Now, lately, like a lot of companies, they've realized, turns out gay people have money. Transgender people have money. And it's politically popular to now be on the side of, this side of the culture, which is the more accepting side, as opposed to the incredibly bigoted, hateful side that most Americans do not agree with. And so it's a smart business decision. And also happens to be on the correct side, the moral position, if you will. So that said, because of DeSantis' focus in the culture wars, Disney got itself into a fight that that DeSantis ain't ready for. I don't think DeSantis is ready for it. I don't think the Republican Party is ready for it. And in fact, the Republican Party, there's a lot of members there who are like, Ron, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? So before I get to those quotes, I want to show you some of the polling here. Let's take a look at that. Turns out Americans, a majority of Americans, would be less inclined to support a candidate who would punish a company for having a political stance. What do you think this is an example of? Well, this is obviously Ron DeSantis going after Disney for having a political stance. 73% of respondents, including 82% of Democrats and 63% of Republicans, said that they were less likely to support a political candidate who backs laws designed to punish a company for political or cultural stances. Oops. Apparently, Ron, this whole battle against
the wokers
ain't going so well for you. People ain't happy about it. So now, mainstream Republicans, they spoke out against this as well. First, we have former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan. He said this move against Disney is an attack on free speech. What happened, Ron? I think you were in favor of free speech. Now you got Republicans telling you, man, hey, whoa, Ron, this ain't it, bro. It ain't it. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie also weighed in and basically called DeSantis a rhino. He's not a conservative. Oof. Donald Trump then also took to Truth Social and said that DeSantis is, quote, being absolutely destroyed by Disney. Oh, damn.
Can't let that happen.
But it did.
They say, that's amazing. How did you do that?
How Ron, how did you get destroyed by Disney so easily? All right, there's more. New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu also added this. I just don't think it's not good for Governor DeSantis. I don't think it's good for the Republican Party. Now, look, to be fair, some of those people have either been cucked by Trump in the okay. Let me rephrase that, right? Because we're not talking about Trump. I don't know why I brought that up. Some of those people, though, might be running against DeSantis if DeSantis jumps in. So some of those have political aspirations, to be fair. But what about the donors? Let's go to the donor class, and we'll talk about this. Turns out you have one huge mega donor on the Republican side, PayPal founder and donor Peter Thiel. He apparently has told associates that he will not financially back any political candidates in 2024. Why is that? Turns out he has grown weary of America's culture wars. He's grown weary. Being in the tangle of our lives in the culture war. So Thiel has reportedly been displeased because Republicans would rather harp about abortion, transgender bathrooms, and other cultural issues, which he sees as a political mistake. Reuters acknowledged that it isn't clear what Thiel will do about Trump during the primary and general election, but their sources say that Thiel is taking a step back from U.S. politics altogether. Damn. And it's not just Thiel. Apparently, other Republican donors are becoming reluctant to back Governor Ron DeSantis because of his focus on the culture wars. So if that happens to all be true, it may be in attempting to own the libs, Ron DeSantis may end up owning himself. Go anti-woke, go broke. You love to see it. How's that for your good news story for the day? Did I see the glitch in Japan? I did. I covered that. It's one of the most hilarious and memeable moments that we've seen this far in this election cycle, at least. Hilarious. The culture war is the last political tactic Republicans have. They've used everything else up. Yes, true. Very true. And plus their, actual economic policies are so incredibly unpopular that they have to try to appeal to a very, I should say, shrinking minority of incredible, racists and transphobes. There you go. Okay. All right. So, Peter Thiel has gone woke. No, doubtful. Very doubtful.
Woke mob.
No woke mob there. Okay. So, with that, why don't I thank some YouTube members and read some super chats. Gabby Mathis, very kind donation here, saying early birthday wishes to Jonathan Leiter and Tyler Hackner. Well, happy birthday to both of you. Early birthday. So hopefully it's an excellent day. Jonathan Leiter, also thank you for gifting a membership. And Gabby, thank you for gifting a membership as well. So thank you for that. Thank you for the support. Yeah, that's all I got here. Nothing on Twitch, but thank you to the Twitch community. Really appreciate you as well. Thank you. Great day for good news. It has been a great news day. Very, very strange. Disney has the money. Wouldn't it be great if it just packed up and left Florida? Think of the repercussions. Disney was smart to buy Star Wars and Marvel. They can outwit DeSantis. Oh, yeah. DeSantis has no idea what he's doing. He has overextended himself. And again, you'd love to see it because he's going faceplant hard. It's going to fall off really hard. So, anyway. Yeah. Oh, Changeling DJ, thank you for the member comment saying Disney has been in Florida for 50 years. Ron's outmatched. Indeed. So, my. It's going to be fun to watch. Okay. Twitch, we're going to raid in here to, well, let's do a search raid. Jump into there. All right. Thank you all. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. We'll see you back here tomorrow for another excellent show.
Amazing. Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
Oh no!
Sexual anarchy.
We will keep kicking your ass every single day.
USA, USA, USA.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels.